This is the News 4 Rundown.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jim Hadley. It's Thursday, April 9th, and here's a look at some of the stories we're following for you tonight. Coming up, the NFL is under investigation by the Justice Department for how it brings its games to you, why some say the league is forcing fans to pay too much to watch football. Plus, as the U.S. Senate tries to broker a peace deal with Iran, there's a new proposal to automatically register young men for military service. Then Maryland has a state bird, a state flower, even a state dance. What about a state shark? More on the effort to make Maryland the first state in the country to recognize the large fish as a state symbol. But first tonight, an apparent murder-suicide leaves 2 Metro employees dead and loved ones looking for answers. We learned the overnight shooting appears to have happened after a dispute between the 2 men. It happened in Friendship Heights near a WMATA bus depot. And tonight, we're learning the names of the victim and the suspect. News 4's Amy Cho has more.
D.C. police say the suspect is 44-year-old Terrell Cross, who is accused of arriving here at this bus depot, shooting his co-worker and then himself. And then the victim is 42-year-old Robert Stokes. Now, I spoke with Stokes' wife this afternoon. She was telling me her husband was a loving father of 4 children, ages 5 through 18, and that he will be deeply missed. His wife says the entire family is upset and heartbroken that he was killed.
2 gunshots, somebody yelling.
The 911 call started around 1 a.m. when D.C. police arrived in Friendship Heights. They found 2 men fatally shot in an apparent murder-suicide. The suspect, 44-year-old Terrell Cross, and the victim, 42-year-old Robert Stokes. The Metro Transit Union would later confirm both men were Metro employees and union members. Neighbors tell News 4 this area around Jennifer and 44th Street is typically safe and peaceful.
Unusual that something like that would happen. It's unfortunate. I'm so sorry it did.
Yeah, it's stunning. I'm shocked. We have a problem with guns in this country, with firearms, of course, but it's a pretty quiet neighborhood, and I'm really sorry to hear it.
D.C. police say there is no ongoing threat to the public. Investigators towed this car from the scene as evidence and recovered 1 gun. The Metro Transit Employees Union says it's now offering grief counseling for the next 2 weeks for any workers who need it.
I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to recognize the loss our team is feeling this morning.
Now, several Metro employees here at this bus depot were too shaken up to go on camera, but were telling me they're extremely saddened to learn that 2 of their coworkers died here this morning. We saw several Metro employees gathering together for a moment of reflection earlier. Now, D.C. police still have not released further details about what the motive was behind that deadly shooting. Amy Cho, News 4.
Now to some of today's other top stories. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger has vetoed a bill that would put a Vegas-style casino in Fairfax County. County supervisors had asked her to do so. The proposed casino's location was set for Tyson's. There's been opposition from local lawmakers on this, but supporters argued it would have been a good moneymaker for Virginia. The funds would have split, with 70% of revenue going to the state, 30% to the county. The state of Maryland reached a settlement with the owner and operator of the ship that crashed into Baltimore's Key Bridge 2 years ago. The settlement does not involve or resolve any claims the state may have had against the shipbuilder Hyundai. Now, the Maryland's Attorney General did not release the dollar amount of the settlement. The cost to repair the bridge has been estimated at $5 billion. Children's National Hospital in D.C. could be moving. Mayor Bowser announced the district and Children's reached a deal to evaluate sites for a new hospital campus in the city. The agreement gives D.C. and hospital officials 1 year to scout locations. Children's National has been at its current location off Michigan Avenue in Northwest for 50 years. Its lease runs through the year 2069. Demolition is underway at Lake Forest Mall. The Gaithersburg Mall closed its doors 3 years ago now. The site will be transformed into a mixed-use community with housing, retail, office space, and a new transit center. The project is expected to roll out in phases over several years with a total cost of about $1.2 billion. A local man shot by ICE officers during an arrest on Christmas Eve appeared in federal court today. The News 4 I-team first told you about this story 3 weeks ago on the Rundown. Our investigative reporter Tracy Wilkins has been tracking this case and was in Baltimore for the hearing today. She joins us now with the update.
Tiago Sosa Martins pleaded not guilty to 2 federal misdemeanor charges today. He faces counts of resisting arrest and destruction of government property after ICE officers stopped him in Glen Burnie on Christmas Eve. Court records show the ordeal began when ICE officers ran Sosa Martins' license plate against immigration databases and found he had overstayed a visa from Portugal in 2008. Those same records show Sosa Martins says he was a child then and has been trying to become a U.S. citizen since. According to an FBI agent's account, officers followed him to a neighborhood where they claim he resisted arrest and they broke his windshield to get him out. Officers say that's when he tried to drive away, striking ICE vehicles, and they opened fire, hitting Sosa Martins in the leg and back. Sosa Martins was initially treated at shock trauma in Baltimore before being released to federal custody. His attorneys have asked for a jury trial expected to begin later this year. I'm Tracy Wilkins, News 4 I-team. Back to you.
Thank you, Tracy. Also developing tonight, a federal judge in Virginia says he's moving forward with a review of electronic devices taken from a Washington Post reporter's home. You may recall Hannah Nathanson's home was searched early this year as part of an investigation into a government contractor. But the seizure by federal agents raised questions about First Amendment protections for journalists. NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach has our story.
Hey there. A magistrate judge in Virginia this afternoon said he plans to move forward with his review of data from Washington Post reporter Hannah Nathanson's electronic devices. You may remember her. Her house was raided by the FBI last year in connection to an investigation into a government contractor who allegedly provided classified documents over Signal to that Washington Post reporter. Now, Magistrate Judge William Porter said he's going to be the one to conduct this review to ensure the government is only provided with the data that's relevant to this investigation, and this isn't some sort of fishing expedition by the government. Judge Porter saying today, quote, "I'm going to keep going until someone tells me to stop." And he says he'll soon be making a trip to what's known as a SCIF, a secure facility out in Manassas, Virginia, to review these documents. But he said all that because at a hearing earlier this morning, the government pleaded with a separate federal judge to prevent that magistrate from actually reviewing anything at all, arguing the government should be allowed to conduct the search since it's their investigation. Now, the attorneys representing the Washington Post and Hannah Nathanson today focused on the impact this whole saga has had on her reporting. They say when the FBI took her phones, they took her contacts, more than 1,200 of them, and her Signal account. And they say they've chilled her ability to report freely. Now, we await a ruling on exactly who will be reviewing this data in the coming days. But as we've seen recently, the Trump administration has been cracking down on leaks by government employees and contractors. Just yesterday, an Army employee in North Carolina was arrested and charged with leaking classified information to a journalist. That individual faces potentially years behind bars. Back to you.
Now to the war with Iran. No new attacks tonight between the U.S. and Iran, but Israel has continued its latest attacks on Lebanon, claiming Lebanon was not a part of the ceasefire agreement. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he is seeking direct talks with Lebanon as soon as possible. President Trump also said he has spoken to Netanyahu about pulling back on strikes to avoid derailing peace talks. Lebanon has also led Iran to continue to block the Strait of Hormuz, despite President Trump's demand that the strait be open to stop the fighting. The president sent another fiery warning to Iran today, saying the U.S. military will remain in place until a real agreement is reached. House Democrats are calling for Congress to return to session to stop the war with Iran. They're pushing for a vote on a war powers resolution. They tried to pass it today during a pro forma session of the House, but they were not recognized by Republican Representative Chris Smith, who had control of the House floor. These Democrats say President Trump's power needs to be reined in.
We've been at war for 40 days. We've only been in session for 33, which is another part of this pattern for the Speaker being away and being on vacation instead of being here and getting the people's work done. And we know that things are out of control over there, as we've seen. We've had problems with the Strait of Hormuz. We're falling behind on where we should be. In fact, Iran's in a better place with respect to the Strait than they were before this war started. So, and also the nuclear materials, no gains on that. The president said in June that they'd blown them all up, that they'd obliterated it, I think was the term that he used. Now they're kind of saying that they may have some more there and we need to go get it. And we've heard from other sources that there's 1,000 pounds of uranium that's still around in Iran. So it's on the wrong track. He's been terrible with the wheel. The threats of total annihilation were, beyond the pale. It's time for Congress to step in and take control of the wheel.
House Democrats say they think there are some Republicans who would support the measure when Congress returns next week. At a time when American service members are committed to this fight overseas, there are developments tonight on the rules for the military draft. The Selective Service Systems is the federal agency that oversees the database of men eligible for service. It plans to start automatically registering American men between the ages of 18 and 26 by December. The National Defense Authorization Act passed by Congress last year, cleared the way for automatic registration. There hasn't been a military draft since 1973, during the tail end of the Vietnam War. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter signed a law requiring men between the ages of 18 and 25 to register for military service. But until now, that process was not automatic. It still required young men to do the work themselves. Last month, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in an interview on Fox Cable News that bringing back the draft was not part of the president's current plan, but that Trump, quote, keeps his options on the table. Back in 2019, Donald Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, testified that Trump made up a fake injury to avoid the draft during the Vietnam War. Trump claims Cohen fabricated stories in order to negotiate a deal for a lesser jail sentence on unrelated crimes. The president did receive 5 draft deferments from the war. 4 were for education. The 5th was a medical waiver after he graduated. Failure to comply with selective service registration is a felony, punishable by a fine of up to $250,000 or up to 5 years in prison. The News 4 Rundown will be right back. Here's a look at what we have coming up.
Still ahead in your weekend scene, The Wiz is coming to town. Find out where for this weekend only. A celebration of the dogs, a beer festival, some jazz, and one final weekend of the National Cherry Blossom Festival. I'm Tommy McFly. It's on the way on News 4.
And we saw a beautiful day out there today. High temperatures in the 60s, but look what's coming our way for our fantastic Friday. I've got 70s, even mid to upper 70s. We'll talk about that and when we could hit our first 90 of the season coming up.
Back now with some news that could put some more money in your pocket. The Department of Justice is investigating the NFL and the league's use of subscription fees required to watch games. According to government sources, the investigation is about affordability for consumers and creating an even playing field for providers. Those sources say the probe began after a review of whether fees for streaming packages violated the Sports Broadcasting Act. In a statement, the NFL said its media distribution model is the most fan and broadcaster friendly in the entire sports and entertainment industry. The league also said 87% of its games are free, 100% are free in the markets of the teams involved in each game. Closing arguments wrapped up today in the federal antitrust trial against Live Nation and its subsidiary Ticketmaster. This brings a high-stakes battle over the live concert industry one step closer to an end. Dozens of state attorney generals, including D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, argue the company has too much power over the live concert market. The lawsuit points to long-term exclusive venue contracts, steep ticketing fees, and complaints from artists who say they've been pushed out. The judge did not indicate when a ruling might come in this case. StubHub is refunding $10 million to customers after the FTC alleged it advertised ticket prices without including mandatory fees. The agency specifically pointed to some NFL tickets on StubHub in May of last year that didn't show the full price before the league's schedule was announced. As part of the settlement, eligible customers will get refunds, and StubHub will have to show total ticket prices, including all fees, on its site going forward. Well, we're about 24 hours away now from the splashdown for the crew of NASA's Artemis II mission. The astronauts are speeding back to Earth after their historic lap around the moon. The Orion capsule is about 154,000 miles away. Splashdown is expected tomorrow evening off the California coast near San Diego. We heard from the crew last night as they prepare to return.
Gosh, I haven't even begun to process what we've been through. We've still got 2 more days, and riding a fireball through the atmosphere is profound as well.
The crew will head back to Earth tomorrow at about 2,500 miles per hour before they go through the atmosphere and parachute softly down to the Pacific Ocean. Keep it here for continuing coverage of the Artemis II crew's return to Earth. We'll have live reports tomorrow afternoon and an NBC News special report leading up to splashdown at 8:07 p.m. tomorrow. Beautiful day today. If you like today, you're going to love tomorrow. And what's to come for the weekend?
The weekend looks great, and then we talk about turning up the heat in a very big way, but you are going to love that fantastic Friday. Take a look at what we saw today. A pretty thrilling Thursday. Still relatively cool, especially a cool start, but it warmed up nicely. 64 today, D.C., 67 Warrenton, 67 in Culpeper, and look just to the west here, Petersburg, West Virginia at 72. That's the warm air to the west that will be working its way our way tomorrow. Out there right now, though, a really nice shot, a nice evening across the area. Nobody's sitting outside on our patio now, but if you were, it's a really nice one, but a little bit cool. Winds out of the south at 10, temperature around 60 degrees. It is a nice evening, but you might need the jacket here as we see our temperature starting to cool. 61 in Hagerstown, 60 in Gaithersburg, 61 right now in Fredericksburg. So we're still on the relatively mild side, even though there's that little chill in the air. And as the sun continues to go down, yeah, we will be seeing that chill continue. Now, Storm Team 4 radar, nothing to show. The wider picture, though, does show a storm system up toward the north. You can see even some thunder and lightning coming towards areas like Erie, Pennsylvania, but this is a cold front. Cold air behind it, but that cold front staying to our north and actually helping to bring that warm air out ahead of it in towards our area. And that's why we will be on the warm side. So the cool air is well up to the north. Now check this out. The cool air tries to work its way back in across the northeast. Doesn't quite get to us. We're still on the warmer side of this, but watch what happens in towards next week. We start to see the pattern shift. We start to see the cool air well to the west, deep trough of low pressure in the west, and then a huge ridge of high pressure. And that allows some very warm temperatures in towards next week all along the East Coast. We could be setting numerous records in towards parts of the East Coast, and that includes our area during the day on Friday. So let's talk about our next week, rather, into Wednesday is what I'm thinking we could see. This Friday, we're talking a fantastic Friday, but then the weekend, a little cooler, as I mentioned, 70 on Saturday, 72 on Sunday. Still great. 83 on Monday, and then here we go. 89 degrees or better 3 days in a row. 89 on Tuesday, 92 on Wednesday. That could be the day we set a record high. 89 again on Thursday, and still on the warm side at the end of next week. Some big time heat making its way our way.
Everything is blooming. That means pop an allergy pill and get on out there and enjoy it. One final weekend of the National Cherry Blossom Festival. The parade will make its way down Constitution Avenue with marching bands and floats. That's on Saturday. Also Saturday and Sunday, the Sakura Matsuri Festival. That's on Pennsylvania Avenue, the largest celebration of Japanese culture around. Plenty of food, plenty of things to check out and enjoy over 2 different days. And not so far from there, the U.S. Botanic Garden has the America's 50th celebration of state flowers. Every state and territory represented. So if you're not from here, you miss it home a little bit, you can check out your state flower and enjoy those awesome opportunities to get a great selfie at the U.S. Botanic Garden. Or outside the city, take a guided wildflower walk at Bluebells at the Bend at Riverbend Park in Great Falls, Virginia.
Oh, nothing can stop me now. Nothing can stop me now. No.
little deeper into Northern Virginia, some beautiful music with the Sweet Jazz Festival, bringing jazz musicians from all around to our area, put on by Tracy Hamlin.
We still have tickets available at sweetjazzfestival.com, so grab your girlfriends, your spouses, your friends, come hang out with us for a weekend experience in beautiful Loudoun County.
I need to tell you this, make a weekend of it. Loudoun County's beautiful wineries will be so close to you after the festival. In D.C., The Wiz is at National Theater for one weekend only. Also, Delray, Virginia's got their dog festival, plenty of sniffing and wagging opportunities for your dog, not for you. And it's DC Beer Fest at Nats Park. That's on Saturday. I'm Tommy McFly. Have an awesome weekend.
It's the largest shark to ever roam the oceans. The mighty Megalodon once swam right here off the coast of Maryland. That's why there's now a push in Annapolis to name it the state shark. News 4's Mark Seagraves, our resident fossil expert, spoke with one of the people leading this effort, aiming to make Maryland the first state in the nation to officially have a state shark.
Millions of years ago, when much of Maryland was underwater, there lived a mighty shark, the Megalodon. So this is a really big shark.
Yes, this restoration of the skeleton of Megalodon is 37 feet long. And we think that they could have attained lengths of 80 feet. So that means that this animal is half size. It's the largest shark that ever lived.
Here at the Calvert Marine Museum in Solomon's Island, Stephen Godfrey spends a lot of his days studying and talking about the Megalodon.
It's a wonderful educational tool. Like, kids naturally gravitate to Megalodon, anything big and scary.
Godfrey, with his daughter by his side, recently testified in Annapolis, where state lawmakers are considering making Megalodon Maryland's state shark. Maryland already has a state bird, a state insect, a state folk dance, a state dinosaur, and a state reptile among its official symbols. So why not a state shark?
I don't want people to be afraid of sharks. I want people to respect sharks. And if we choose an extinct shark, then it doesn't carry with it the baggage, the fear factor that some living sharks have kind of along with them. And so Megalodon is a super good example of a shark that shaped its ecosystem for millions of years, just like modern sharks do today. And so we can make that connection. That's why it's so great as an educational tool.
So what's Megalodon's connection to Maryland? For that, Godfrey took us to the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay in Calvert County, where there are more than 30 miles of cliffs, where people regularly find shark teeth, including Megalodons as big as your hand. 20 million years ago, much of Maryland was covered by an ocean where Megalodon lived.
So it was here for 15 million years, which to me is so amazing. I want Maryland to be the first state to designate a state shark, but not just any shark. I want it to be Megalodon. You know, I love the adage, go big or go home. I don't want the Senate to go home. I want them to recognize what an amazing opportunity this is. I'm afraid that if we don't do it, there are other states where Megalodon is found, and I don't want to be scooped.
Now, just as with the mighty Megalodon, time is running out on this legislation. If it's not passed within the next few days, supporters will have to come back and try again next year. That's something that Godfrey and fossil enthusiasts in the state say would be a missed opportunity for Maryland. And if you do try to go out and look for your own teeth, look in the surf and the sand. That's where you'll find them. Don't ever dig in the cliff. From the western shore of the Chesapeake Bay, where I found my Meg, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
That's a tip. 80 feet. That's going to do it for the News 4 Rundown for this Thursday night. Be sure to join us right back here for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Jim Hadley. Have a great night, everybody.